Well, we're back in eastern South Dakota. We're in Clark, South Dakota, which is just west of Watertown. And we actually stayed at this property here last year. You can find this on Airbnb. It's called the Loft, and just a really, it's cool what they've done with this. They fixed this up and you can rent it. But tell you what, from where we're standing here, I mean, there is so much great fishing in this area. A lot of small lakes, I would say anywhere from, say, a couple hundred acres to maybe a couple thousand acres. There's just lakes dotted all over the place. And a lot of these lakes have some phenomenal walleye fishing. That's what we're going to explore today. You know, so basically what we're doing here is we're just lake hopping. I mean, there's so many lakes. I mean, I can't stress that enough. I mean, if you look at an aerial view of this particular area, if you don't like the lake you're on, I mean, you can literally just go right down the road, just keep hitting lakes. There's just hundreds of lakes. And a lot of these lakes have tremendous walleye fishing. And this time of year, I mean, is there anything funner than pitching a jig in 5 feet of water? I mean, that's as good as it gets. One of the best
things that I like to do, I can tell you that.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, that's probably a common theme too in these prairie lakes, is that a lot of these fish are shallow for a big chunk of the year. There's a couple of them in front of us here. Oh, he's coming, moving on me. Oh, that was you. That was cool. Where are you at here?
Right in front here.
Okay, I'll turn the boat around. Oh,
nice one,
nice walleye. Here, I'll get the net here for you. Nice.
Ooh, got your jig there too.
I saw that fish move on it.
That's a nice one right there.
Oh yeah, beautiful fish. So when you look at this area, there's a lot of lakes, and probably the big thing to remember is that these lakes do cycle. I mean, you look at even the big lakes like Bitter Lake, Wabae Lake. You know, there's these highs and lows. It's been dry down here. You know, and water levels have something to do with it in the sense that, you get these dry periods where the lakes drop, then you get some wet cycles where the lakes climb, and you'll just see these lakes fire off at different times. And so I guess the reason to point that out is that you might have a lake that's maybe 10 feet deep it's the hottest fishing in the county. And then the next year, it's a lake 3 miles down the road. And so definitely when you come down here, keep an open mind and just keep your ears open and, be friendly, try to get as much information as you can, but you'll see where just a lake is on fire. And then that lake becomes the story of yesteryear. And then you kind of forget about that lake for say 5 to 10 years, and then it fires right back up again. And so if you love to fish and love a little bit of variety and love to explore, there's a lot to explore in this area. Oh, golly, was that a strike?
There you go.
That is so cool. Just love how these fish pin these little jigs.
Need a netter on that one?
I think so. This is a good fish. Oh yeah, nice walleye.
Oh yeah.
Boy, did that fish hit it hard.
Nice fish.
There we go. That's just a Northland short shank tungsten jig, and that eye crawler candy, just kind of a finesse jig, and it's kind of a deal we're not necessarily casting and reeling, but just kind of casting it, popping it, twitching it. And these walleyes just love them.
There we go, come on.
Got him? All right. We found a pot of them. That's probably something worth pointing out too. I mean, this lake's like 8 feet deep.
Yeah.
So, we're in 4 to 5 feet, but these fish are just scattered, roaming these just big flat. All right. Coming with the net here. Oh yeah. Yeah, these are just gorgeous fish. There you go. Oh yeah. Oh, they're just beautiful. Look at that. Oh.
That's what it's about right there.
Yeah, this is good living. Good living. fish just have great girth, you know what?
Yeah. I've been guiding since about 2014. What I love about guiding in the Northeast, South Dakota and the Glacial Lakes here is, you know, the variety of lakes. You know, there's so much, you know, diversity in these lakes and so many options. You know, within Webster, South Dakota, I bet you're talking 75 lakes within a 50-mile radius that you can fish. Or you can target anything from walleyes, pike, perch, crappies, bluegills, muskies in some of the lakes, smallmouth, largemouth. You can target pretty much whatever you want to target. And if that lake's not going, you can just pick up and go down the road a half mile, quarter mile, mile maybe, and get back on the water and get after it again. Pretty good.
There you got him.
There you go. One more down there.
Just a tick. I'm just going to hit spot lock here.
Oh, I got him.
They are fighters. Oh yeah, there's a beautiful
There
walleye.
we go. There's a nice one.
Look at that. Oh.
Nice fish.
You know, the water is kind of clear for, well, some of these lakes are surprisingly clear. Some of these lakes get pretty windswept and turbid, and some of these lakes get bad algae blooms later on in the summer where the visibility is really cut down. But I would say you probably see down pretty good down to maybe 3 feet. So the water just got a nice, you know, it's a light stain, nice color. But that being said, in 5 feet of water, you know, you're probably not going to be able to drive over the top of these fish and catch them right below the boat. But you can definitely catch them casting. And it seems like 20, 30 feet is kind of when they start to push off of the boat. But look at that walleye.
That's awesome.
That is. Never get tired of doing this. Wow. And I might be a little biased, but I just think these fish are just more aggressive than your typical walleye. I mean, it's you find walleyes up in 4 or 5 feet of water around weeds, and typically these fish, it's like a whole different attitude. And they are just loving that little morsel right there. There's a reason they call it eye candy. You know, it's interesting, you know, before forward-facing sonar, if you had calm conditions and clear water where those fish weren't pushed right up on the bank and they were a touch off the bank in that 4 to 7 foot of water, you know, those were traditionally fish are often felt like they were harder to catch. And then if the wind blows or the water gets stained from warming up, it seems like the fish would get easier to catch. But, you know, in today's world, you know, you can cruise along and find those fish a lot faster with forward-facing sonar and then just cast right at them. And, you know, these fish are running, say, 1 foot to 2 feet off the bottom. You know, it's tough to beat a jig in a plastic. But we're not necessarily swimming paddle tails or swim baits through them. We're more or less just letting that jig drop next to that fish. A lot of times those fish will just tilt up and just pin it right to the bottom, or just giving it one quick pop, get that fish's attention, and just get that fish chase. And the thing to remember about this is it's not like you have to have the perfect cast and everything has to be lined up perfectly. All you have to do is find that fish and make a cast at that fish. And if you see that fish move quickly, hang on. You know, usually within the first pop or two, you know, when you get close to that fish, they're either going to eat it or they're not.
There we go. Ooh.
Oh, that was cool.
That was awesome.
This is a nice fish.
Here, I'm gonna get out of your way. I'll go this way. Ooh. You need a net
Yeah.
here?
Really a nice fish. People say the walleyes don't fight. Just catch one in about 3 to 5 feet of water this time of year. It'll change your mind.
Nice fish.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we got a little wet. No rain in the forecast, and I learned a lesson that I should have learned many times by now, is don't ever go anywhere without your rain gear.
Without the rain gear.
Rain gear sitting in the truck. We're sitting getting rained on, but we've caught so many fish during this rain that we are not going in to get it. Yeah, look at that. Fish just look like they're mad at you. Yeah, that's what brings us to South Dakota, that right there. Oh, come here. You know, so for these little jig crawler, you know, just a tail, and kind of took a play out of Tom Wynn's playbook. I always, you know, like with the big paddle tails, I like to use a long shank hook. I like to use a, you know, a hook with a big wide gap in it. For these little finesse worms, just this short shank tungsten, I've been just dabbing a little bit of super glue just to keep that pinned up on the collar, but it just kind of flicks up, almost kind of like a Ned rig. And this eye candy soft plastic, this material, it floats, and so it just kind of floats up in the air. When it hits the bottom, it's just lots of action. And so little twitches, little hops, shaking it, and these fish are jumping on it. But just short shank tungsten, that little worm, and boy, does that catch walleyes, especially in that, say, 4 to 8 foot range, 4 to 10 foot range. Especially when you can see them with forward facing sonar, it is deadly.
You know, right now we are in a pretty good spot to be. The water temps are reaching between 55s and the low 60s, and that's when everything's starting to fire up. You know, today, like we talked about earlier, we were able to use plastics, and that helped us out a lot. Saved us on time, saved us on area coverage, and we were able to dial in pretty fast in the fish that we were able to get on today. You know, there's other ways about doing this. You don't just have to use plastic. We just came off a bobber bite just recently, and it was amazing. You know, obviously a couple days of that, and it shut down, and we switched over to, you know, casting plastics at them, and they seemed to like that. So here we are, and pretty soon in a couple days, I could switch to Lindy rigs, and there we go. But that's just one of the cool things about, you know, learning all the aspects of that forward-facing sonar and how these fish react, and you know, it helps us with our tactics and what we need to do and what we need to have in our toolbox to get after these fish.
Well, the biggest thing with this active target tour, forward-facing sonar in general, is it's not just for catching fish where you see a fish and you cast at it. It's, you know, you can drive through the shallow water like this and see fish, but most of all, you can eliminate the dead water so quickly. You know, and so we're cruising along. We're probably, I don't know, maybe finding a pot of fish every 50 yards or so. And you can just cruise through it so fast, and you can, you know, what used to take maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours to work to determine whether the fish were there or not, whether you wanted to stay. Now you can cruise through those areas in 20 minutes and just get an idea of, you know, how much life is out there, how many fish are out there. And so as you're cruising, you know, ultimately you're going to bump some fish, but biggest thing is you can just eliminate the dead water, where you go 50 yards, go 100 yards, whatever it is, run to the next pot of fish, then you can slow down and try to get set up on them. But it's amazing. I mean, you can have a fish 30 feet away, and that fish moves around a little bit, the boat drifts around, and then you lose it, you know. And so it's amazing the things that you learn. It's amazing, you know, being able to see the fish. And ultimately, probably the most frustrating thing is that there's some days where you can just throw right on top of fish and just, you know, you just got to learn to leave fish, and they don't bite. And that's probably one of the biggest things that we've had to relearn is, you know, the old cardinal rule of fishing was you don't leave fish to find fish. With forward-facing sonar, you have to leave fish all the time. I mean, basically you're making 1 or 2 casts, and if they're not going to eat, you just got to move on to the next fish. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. And probably the biggest thing that I've had to learn with it is that you really have to get a lot better at managing your time, because the day can get away from you so quickly.
Yeah,
wouldn't you agree?
That is very true.
I mean, especially, you know, when you're dealing with, you know, bodies of water where there's, you know, different types of fish besides walleyes, or you just get into a school of fish just for whatever reason isn't eating, you just have to learn to walk away, you know. And so it is fascinating. We are learning a lot. It definitely has taught us a lot of things, and maybe reinforced some things, and there's other things with fishing where in hindsight, you know, looking back, you know, we were dead wrong, you know. And so it's a fascinating tool. Got one out in front of us here. Oh,
there you go.
Wow.
There you go.
That one followed us back.
A nice fish.
That is a nice fish. Staying down nice. Oh yeah. Look down in that water and see that fish. Yeah. Boy, these walleyes are beautiful.
That is the golden ticket right there, Jason.
That is. The golden ticket to happiness.
Nice fish.
What a day.
Nice.
You know, you talk about, you know, people, you know, catching 100 fish in a day or whatever, and people think, ah, that's exaggerating. But this part of the world, this time of the year, that's definitely a reality. It's crazy, all the fish I've caught today. I think I'm on my second eye candy.
Yeah, they're holding up good.
Just wearing them out. Boy, just look how these fish are built. And here's the basic setup. Using braid with this, just, you know, especially these light, smaller jigs, this time of year with plastics, you know, the bites are pretty distinctive. So this is Suffix 832 braid, really easy to cast. I am using a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader, and then I'm just going right down to this tungsten jig, and then the Eye Candy crawler. Just a, you know, maybe I would say a 6 to 6.5 foot medium extra fast rod. I mean, it's really all that you're going to need. I mean, you're going to be able to catch fish on this too, you know, through a big chunk of the summer. I mean, obviously as the summer progresses, some of these fish will go deep, no doubt, or deeper out in the basin, which in this part of the lake, or in this particular lake, might only be 8 feet, but these weed fish will stay shallow all year long. I mean, in this part of the world, you can come down here in June, July, you know, even parts of August, find good green weeds and either cast soft plastics or crankbaits and catch fish in less than 6 to 7 feet of water pretty much throughout the year. And I would say, we were talking about this earlier, Joe, where, you know, if you wanted to target nicer fish, like a nicer average size, you know, in a lot of cases, you know, pitching soft plastics or crankbaits in these weeds, you know, that's how you're going to catch some of the nicer fish in a lot of cases.
Yep.
You know, and so it is a viable pattern that's going to last for a long time.
So I get a lot of questions on guys that are from out of state, or even guys that are in state that want to get more into fishing, and they ask, where do I start? You know, what lake do I choose? And kind of how I respond to that is I say, you know, there's a lot of local bait shops around the northeast South Dakota. You can usually call, they can give you a fishing report. You can check the SDGFP, the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks websites for stocking reports. You can kind of do your own research there and see what lakes are putting out what. You can kind of do your own research and figure out where you want to go. And the number one thing is just getting out and, you know, trying it out. You know, you never know what you're going to find until you get into that lake. You never know what kind of bite it's going to be until you're on that bite. And, you know, maybe it is a good idea to maybe book a local guide around the area that you're looking at targeting, and, you know, learn from them, ask them questions, and they'll give you the helpful hints. They'll tell you what they're doing. You can see the tools they're using, and maybe that can help you, you know, for yourself if you want to do it yourself.
You know, when you look at, you know, like in this situation, you know, we're in 6 feet of water or less. These softer bottoms that have that like, see my hands, I mean, they're all just green from cleaning the slime off my jig, but you get that soft bottom where you get that junk weed and some slime on the bottom, you get, you know, clumps of weeds growing here and there. On side imaging, you know, the fish don't show up very well at all on that soft bottom with that slimy weed for whatever reason. Now, if it was sand and gravel, they would pop out at you. It'd be really easy to see them. And then the other thing is these fish aren't letting you drive over the top of them with 2D sonar. And so historically or traditionally, you know, you'd have to fish these spots to know that there's fish here. Forward-facing sonar changes that, where even in these shallow locations where the bottom's not right for seeing fish, you can still see them with the forward-facing sonar. Oh, there you go.
Oh, let's see.
Feel like a good one?
Oh, yeah, that's a nice one.
All right. All right. I'm coming with the net. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful walleye. This is good fishing, Joe.
Yeah, you can't get much better. Beautiful weather. Weather's finally cooperating with us. We got a little stretch. She's beautiful out. All right. There you go. Nice fish.
Well, what a day, huh?
Nice fish.
What a day. Wow. Yeah, it's going to be hard to leave this. Hard to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, they are built. They are healthy, nice fish.
Yeah, and there's lots of bonus points. Less than 5 feet of water on a jig. Yeah. Doesn't get any better. Nice work.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
I saw another fish out through that eye. I'm gonna catch one too.
Yeah. Back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Incredible. Yeah. And you catch all those fish over 20 inches, and then you catch a live well full of those.
That's a guy's dream right there, isn't
It
it?
really is. Thank you, sir. This is a pleasure to
Yeah.
finally get to spend the time in the boat with you. This
Yeah.
is,
Appreciate you coming down. It's been a fun day.
This is good living.
Yeah, this is, can't ask for anything better, I can tell you that.